My 15-year-old daughter was living with me while her mother, my ex-wife, went through a bone marrow transplant for cancer. My daughter and I were sitting on the front porch one evening when we heard a frantic meowing coming from across the street. Thinking it was a cat in a tree, we investigated and found a little Maine Coon kitten alone in the neighbor's landscaping. We adopted the kitten and named him Binks, and he didn't leave the crook in my daughter's arm for what seemed to be a year or more. The Maine Coon cat was just what my daughter needed to help her deal with her mom's cancer treatment and fight for life. Her mother's cancer-free, and Binks the cat became a cherished pet who lived for 17 years. Now that's a truly heartwarming story. The daughter needed the little kitten just as much as the kitten needed a loving home. A match made in heaven. I adopted my Maine Coon mix from a shelter as a sick senior with severe stomatitis. He had to have all his teeth removed and was already declawed. At first, he was so scrawny and sickly and scared. But once he got healthy, he blossomed into the most loving, loyal, chubby guy who follows me everywhere and is my best buddy. I'm really glad I was able to give this little boy another chance at life because he's brought me so much love and is one of my best friends. We're so happy this boy got the loving owner he deserved and a beautiful life, even though he's been through a lot. Like this other user mentioned, a declawed cat is a mutilated one. How could he even hunt for himself after being abandoned by the fool who ditched him? Ugh. People could be horrible to animals. Please don't declaw your cats. I miss my Maine Coon. Got him at 8 weeks from a shelter, and he was absolutely very intelligent. If his litter box was too dirty for his taste, he would actually lead me to it. He came running when I got home. He only lived to be about 9 years old, but it was time well spent. I forgot to mention his intelligence showed through in other ways. He would never eat human food because I once tried to hide medicine in chicken. If you put anything but cat food in his bowl, it would go untouched. Also, you could never let him see you get out of the cat carrier. If he saw it, he was gone because he knew that meant a trip to the vet. He also never got on the counters or the tables because he hated being scolded. Wow, now that sounds like a brilliant cat. 0. Best pet I've ever had. Incredibly intelligent. Taught himself how to flush the toilet. I learned this the hard way. One night at 2 a.m., I heard the toilet flush. I lived alone. He loved climbing to the tops of ladders and at his peak weight of 24 pounds. He was a stray when I found him and lived until he was 18. Indoor only, protective of the family. I miss him every day. We're so glad Zero found you. He too sounds like he was a remarkable cat. I've read a ton of y'all's stories about your cats, and I have to say, this is actually uplifting. When the world sucks, it's soul-saving to read the stories of how much y'all loved them and how much they loved y'all. And that's why we started this series. We want to spread love and good vibes to bring a little joy into people's lives. We adopted our newest fur child from a local feral cat/kitten rescue. We knew his mother's Russian blue, but not until he started growing up did we realize his Maine Coon heritage. He's 11 months old and bigger than every other cat around us. He's an adorable, loving, playful personality. How lovely! I had a Maine Coon cat growing up. We adopted him as an adult, and he was mostly an outdoors cat during the day and came in at night and during the cold months of the year. He was such a good hunter that he preferred to be outside. He hunted rabbits, squirrels, mice, birds, etc. We didn't even see another squirrel or rabbit in our entire neighborhood until a few months after he passed away. Everyone in the neighborhood knew him and would often find him sitting out on their decks sunbathing or sleeping. I also found him in the field across from our rural development hunting. He was the best and largest cat we had, weighing in at around 25 pounds. We never knew how old he was exactly, but I imagine he was around 10 to 12 years old when he passed. Yet another touching story. While we don't necessarily agree with letting cats roam outside and kill wildlife, this fellow definitely had a wonderful life. Years ago, my father found a starving Maine Coon kitten while he was working and took it home. That kitten became my dad's best friend for the next 12 years. I've never seen such loyalty in a cat. No one got near my father without that cat's permission. How amazing! I'm curious if the father was a cat person before or became one afterward, because many times people who dislike cats end up adoring them after having one. And here's what one user said about adoption. I'm happy they brought up adopting as an option. We all have our reasons for wanting a specific type of cat or dog, but there's so many cats in need of a home. I do want a Maine Coon. They're so beautiful, but I don't see myself getting one unless it's through adoption. I have 2 cats already, and I'm happy with the number, so until one passes or I move to a larger place, I don't plan on adding any new pets to the family. We truly agree with this comment. Cats, no matter the breed, bring fulfillment and joy. And as you might have noticed, many of these stories feature previously stray Maine Coons, which are definitely not purebred. I found our Maine Coon at a shelter in July 2020. Of course, we had to adopt her. She turned 1 year old on the 14th of February 2021. She's very talkative and playful. Very tolerant of our 3-year-old granddaughter who lives with us. Kitty weighs 6 kilograms, and we hope she grows bigger. She's amazing, and we love her to bits. We're so happy this family decided to adopt and found their perfect cat. Also, share your amazing adoption stories in the comments. We'd love to read them. We have a little Maine Coon. We adopted her from a shelter 16 months ago. She had been put outside in the freezing winter at 9 months as our owner died. Her paws had been frostbitten, and she had a bit of coordination problems at first. She was so happy to come home with us. She literally followed at our heels wherever we went for months. Big personality and hated to be home by herself. We were told she would probably only live until 4 to 6 years, so happy to see so many live longer. She only weighs about 8 pounds, 4.6 pounds when I got her. So she's small for a Maine Coon at 28 months. Poor little soul, but now she's got you, and we truly hope you'll get to enjoy her for many more years. My daughter's family pets range from reptiles, small ones, to cats and dogs. Phoenix, a Maine Coon found in a dumpster as a kitten, is a very large, very sweet addition to the menagerie, getting along with all dogs and cats, except the one tortured female cat who has her own respite room, and especially entertained by the turtle tank, as opposed to the regular fish tanks. Now that's a large family, and the owner seems to be a true animal lover. I got my Maine Coon mix from a shelter. He was sick and had been declawed front and rear. He had a rough life before he ended up in the shelter. Even though he was sick, he was very friendly. I fell in love with him and gave him a new home. After he got better, he gained back some weight, about 19 pounds total. He lived another 10 years before passing in his sleep. He was a wonderful cat, and I miss him. I'm not crying, you're crying. Poor fellow, declawed and abandoned. Luckily, he lived a magnificent life for 10 years. I got my first taste of a Maine Coon in 2011. He just walked into my house and made himself at home. I didn't know anything about them. Unfortunately, he passed. Got another one. Don't believe he was 100% Maine Coon, but boy, did he have a lot of traits. He followed me around everywhere, just like my dogs. I had him for 8 years before cancer took him last June. I miss that big bugger. Sounds like you two were meant for each other. So sorry the first one didn't make it. I rescued a 5-week-old in the overgrown bushes across the street meowing loudly. Don't know if mom was transporting them and she was the last or wandered away from the litter or was dumped. She's feral, except with me. She's the most vocal cat I've ever had, even more than my Siamese, so I named her Aria. She loves carrying pieces of paper around. She just walked by with a business card in her mouth as I write. I've had to move my money stash. She found it one night, and in the morning I found dollar bills all over the house. I love her to pieces. Well, she sounds like a handful. I'm so glad she found you. And Aria seems like the perfect name. I'll write it down. This is what another user replied. I had one come to me. I don't know how she got here. She was my girl. I never knew a cat could talk until Lily. She always had an opinion and answered me. She would meet me at the door, talking the whole time. She slept on my neck and always knew when I was sad. Cherish your girl. They just keep getting better. They're so loyal and will love you to pieces. Lily was my best friend, more than a pet. While we're sad that Lily passed, we're glad she had a happy life and we'll definitely take your advice. My 2-year-old rescue Coonie, Roxy, is my bestie. She follows me around the house, greets me at the door, chills on my shoulders while I do housework, sleeps on my feet to keep them warm, and keeps my apartment spider-free. The first thing people say when they first meet her is usually either, "What a pretty cat," or "Holy cow, that's a huge cat." Now that sounds like a true best friend. Spider-free apartments are a good enough reason to own a cat. And now it's your turn. Share your stories as well, and please give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, as it really helps. See you next time!